Hey, welcome, Crossbridge. We're coming to you on a video.
On a video.
Isn't this exciting?
Because I love doing videos much.
I know, you're special about this.
Thing.
Technology.
Yes.
We're leveraging technology.
That's what we're doing.
Well, you may be wondering why we're doing this video. And last week, if you were here, I actually wrapped up life lessons with the Minor Prophets.
Yes.
From the Minor Prophets.
Yes.
And did Haggai.
Haggai.
It was a great, I enjoyed the teaching, but I got to staff meeting and told you guys, I just felt like I didn't say everything that needed to be said.
Yeah, there's a lot of conversations that we've been having over the last couple of years that would have probably helped set the context for some of what you were saying.
Exactly.
And we realized maybe not all of that came across on Sunday.
And so we started talking about, well, what's the best way that we can get information out to everybody? Because we want to be as clear as we possibly can.
Right.
Because when you start talking about change, it can get people worried. It can scare people. And so we wanted to do that. So we said, well, let's just do a focus moment. We said, no, we don't have enough time in a focus moment on Sunday.
It's going to take a little too long.
Exactly.
Which is part of the reason you struggled Sunday was because
there was so much
you had limited time to kind of get it across. And so we thought, Brad was talking in some generalities on Sunday about stuff, like I said, that we've been talking about forever. And we knew what you were talking about because we've been talking about specifics, but didn't have time to give the church all the specifics. So we thought, and we should do that.
We were just scared to death that maybe someone got either the wrong idea or was worried about some things. So we just wanted to say, hey, let's just come out and say this is what's going on.
Make sure we're all on the same page.
And so then we said, well, focus moment won't do it. So let's just do an extra teaching. But then that was going to be in our Christmas series. We said, no, we can't do that. And then we honestly said that even if we did a teaching, only 30 to 40% of the people would actually hear it.
Right.
So some brilliant person in the staff said, hey, let's do a video.
Hey, how about we do what we're actually talking about doing with digital ministry?
And then we can reach everybody.
That was brilliant.
So that's exactly.
Whoever came up with that idea.
So the first thing we just want to talk about is the transition that we're talking about going through.
Right.
And just talk a little bit about where we're heading transition-wise and what is actually, with this whole new focus of where we're heading with the church.
Yeah, and right here is one of the things we want to clarify right from the beginning is we say transition.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a transition and changes that we're making in ministry, but they're two different things, right?
Right.
So when we say transition, what we're talking about is what we're going to be voting on this next week at the annual business meeting where Brad will be voted on to become the lead pastor. And I'm going to take a step back and become the executive pastor and work 20 hours a week. And that's a transition in staffing along with, Kim going full-time, Jake adding some hours. So there's some staff transitions that are happening. That's separate and different from these ministry things that we've been talking about changing to be able to be more effective. And it's not we're doing these changes because Brad's changing everything. These changes have been things we've been talking about for the last year to 2 years.
Or more, yes, exactly.
So they're two different things. That was one of the clarifications we wanted to make sure
everybody
understood was, no, Brad's not coming in and changing everything. These are things we've been talking about.
We would have had these changes whether we did a staff transition or not. This is where we're heading no matter what.
Totally separate things.
Exactly.
Yeah, if I would have stayed in that role, we'd be doing the exact same thing.
And so one of the things I talked about was that the church is changing, and that's what we're going to be actually talking about tonight.
So what do we mean when we say the church is changing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when we say the church, we're not just talking about our church. We're talking necessarily about the big C church of all the churches. Every church we know is facing this. And you've been dealing with a lot of churches and actually watching people and thinking they had no clue what's coming.
Yeah, it's interesting because as Brad was teaching this week, when he was saying church is going to look different. And again, we're talking big C church, like the way church fits into society.
Right, into the culture.
Across the country, not just Crossbridge. And we have been doing a ton of research and discussions and asking questions and trying to ask other churches, what are they doing? And so we feel like we're getting this at the right time.
We're trying to get ahead of the curve.
Right, to be prepared.
Because the church has always been so slow to react to culture and to everything that's going on.
Right.
And we can't miss it this time.
Correct. And so there's so many other churches that I'm working with outside of Crossbridge that this isn't even on their radar yet, which is part of what I'm trying to help
Right.
do. So it may feel a little bit like we're kind of out there and talking about things that not a lot of other people are talking about, and we're glad, right? That's what we're trying to do. Is
Right.
We don't want to just react when it's too late.
Exactly.
So
Because then you're really behind the curve.
right.
So when we say that church is changing, and just some of the things that we are not only noticing now, but other churches are noticing now, how is the church changing? Why is it changing? And one of the things is just attendance. I talked a little bit about this on Sunday, is that, an average attender now is like 1.2, 1.4, 1.5. If someone comes 2 or 3 times a month,
Right.
that's unheard of anymore.
Yeah. I grew up in the days, and, you throughout, your family life and stuff, we went to church every week.
It didn't matter.
We missed maybe 2 or 3 a year.
You're sick,
right?
so what?
Right.
You're going.
And that's not true anymore. And it's not going to be true going forward. We've said for years here at Crossbridge that the average Crossbridger comes about 50% of the time.
Right.
And we're
ahead of the game.
We're ahead of that's high.
That's high
for culture today.
Yep.
So that is not going to reverse anytime soon.
And that's what's happening with a lot of churches, is they are trying to go back and say, well, how do we get people to come more? And it's not that we're saying that stay home. We think
right.
we
don't want that.
No, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit also. But those days are, because of the culture, the busyness, the things that's happening, that those days are over.
Right. And so we're not saying that we're just giving into that, but we're saying, how do we work within that and leverage it, at least for this next season? Everything's seasonal, everything's cyclical. Where things are going right now is in that direction.
Right.
My guess is, and we may talk about this a little bit more, that as we've discussed it, there will be a period, we believe, when people become so distant that they're craving the physical community.
Exactly.
And it'll swing back the other way.
Right.
But for right now, we've got to figure out a way to say, how are we going to work within the way people's lives are working right now?
And still influence and
And still-
impact people's lives.
Exactly.
And yeah,
Not just
exactly.
throw up our hands and go, oh, well, nobody's coming to church.
Exactly. And the other part of that is the things that are changing is even the support. The way people give is not what it used to be.
Right.
And so, especially with the very younger, the Gen Zs and things like that,
Yeah.
they're giving to other things. And so I'm actually reading a book right now that talks about where are the alternate funding sources for churches.
Yeah.
And it's just things that we have to be aware of and look for.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, in the past, church has been funded by offerings given, and mostly by offering given on Sundays. Well, if people are only here once or twice a month.
Right.
That typically means, even though we have online giving, many times that means offerings have gone down. Put with that the added cultural shift that there are so many good causes to give to and other nonprofits that people are giving to lots of different things, where in the past it used to be you gave to your
Church, and that was it.
and that was it.
Right.
So that's just another change that
Exactly.
we have to learn how to work with.
And we have to look at, okay, what are some of the solutions to that? So
Right.
so what we want to do is just walk through some of the questions that we are asking as a staff and things that we are wrestling with, and on a weekly basis, really a daily basis sometimes. Someone will walk into somebody's office and say, did you see this statistic? Did you see? So we're going to give you a lot of stats tonight also.
Yes.
And just kind of walk through some of the things that happen. But we believe it is so crucial. Our mission statement, transforming lives by helping people take next steps with God. Always going to be the core of what we do.
Right.
And so how do we do that the best we can? And here's the first stat of tonight I want you to understand that we're looking at to say something is different. 59% of individuals, 18 through 29, with a Christian background have left the church.
Right.
60%, almost 60%.
That's crazy.
It's
isn't it?
nuts. Estimated that 8 million young adults will leave the church before their 30th birthday.
Yeah.
And it
That's the future of the church.
it is, and it can be depressing if you think about that.
Right.
And so, the questions we're asking is how are we going to combat that? What are we going to do with this? And the first thing you have to look at is what does the church look like in 10 to 15 years?
Right. Because again, whenever a shift happens like this, you have a choice on how you react. Either you get mad and frustrated and throw up your hands and go, well, those people, why won't they change?
Why
And-
won't they come?
Right. Why won't they come to what we're doing? And they should want to. And
Right.
which there's some truth in.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
honestly. But that's not very effective in reaching those people, right?
Right.
So the other choice you have is to go, okay, we're not going to stop trying to reach people and get them here on Sundays and stuff like that. But if this is where culture's going, how do we
still minister to those people?
minister
Or have an opportunity to influence? Yeah, exactly.
be effective?
Exactly.
I mean, that's what we're called to do.
So when we say church is going to change, and again, it's just not here; it's everywhere. In 10 to 15 years, I mean, there are some people who think that the church as we know it won't exist.
Right.
That a Sunday gathering will not look anything like it does today.
If there even is a Sunday.
If there even is a Sunday, and that scares me because I love the Sunday gathering. I look forward to that. And I think there'll always be some element of that. We'll talk about that in a little bit also. But it's very possible that church, as we know it as a Sunday gathering, will no longer exist as early as 10 to 15. That's how rapidly things are changing.
Yeah, it's kind of like it makes me think. This just popped into my head. It makes me think of what we've always said about computers. That as computers advanced, it wasn't a linear advance. It was an exponential advance.
Exactly.
Like the further they went, the faster they changed, and that's what we're seeing.
And that's why if we don't react now,
right,
we'll be so far behind we will never be able to catch up.
Yeah. The sad part is, in 10 to 15 years, those churches who haven't worked on figuring out how to work within this,
they're done.
A lot of them will be closed.
Most of the landscape of the number of churches is going to be dramatically different in 10 to 15 years. The other thing is how do we use technology, because that's where we are. Right. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. The big change for us was it used to be all about Sunday. It used to be Sunday, 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 1 hour on Sunday. I even said that. We went to that seminar that said it's about Sunday stupid.
And how long ago was that?
It was 10 years at the most. At the most.
The culture of church was everything's about
Sunday. You do everything you possibly can to get them on Sunday. The flashy lights, the great, and now it's
not totally 180 degrees. The opposite.
180 degrees the opposite way. And the big thing now is there's 167 other hours of the week.
Yeah.
How are we going to use that to influence people for Christ?
Right.
That's where it is. So how do you use that? And then the one that you're always pushing us on, and honestly Trevor is also, is this: what metrics do we use to make sure that we're being effective?
Right.
And those are the questions we're wrestling with. Not that we have all the answers.
Right, because again, no matter how we do it, the mission doesn't change. We are about transforming lives and helping people take next steps. That's why we.
That's the message
here as a church. So, if how we measure that isn't number of people in the seats on Sunday, how do we measure it going forward?
Yeah, and that becomes difficult. Yeah. We're still trying to figure that whole thing out.
Huge learning curve.
Yeah, and no one has it figured out right now. Even businesses, other churches, you name it. So we heard this statement. It's been, I don't even know how long ago. It's quite a while ago that in this age you need to become a digital church with a physical presence.
Right.
And it changed our thinking.
Yes. It changed my thinking, and I talked about this a little bit a while ago, but I was against the whole digital presence thing for a while because I was concerned about it creating a whole nother church separate from the physical church. And it turns out that the more we've studied it, the more we've tried things, the more we've talked to other people, even learning things from the business world, it's exactly the opposite.
Exactly.
That technology is so much inbred and intertwined with our daily life that we go back and forth from digital to the physical constantly throughout the day. And those two things come together to form our relationships now. And so it doesn't create a separation. It can actually, if used well, can actually bring people together and increase people's relationships and ownership in what we're doing and things like that.
Right. So I just want to run through, when you ask the question, then why digital? Why do we have to go this direction? Let me just give you some statistics, and there's all kinds of statistics out here. We're just going to read through some of these. You'll see them on the screen, and we'll start with this. 85% of teens use YouTube.
YouTube is huge.
Huge, especially for the younger
generation. If you're our age and you think Facebook is huge,
I'm never on YouTube.
My kids are never on Facebook.
Yeah,
never.
Exactly. And we're going to get to those. 81% say social media is a positive effect on their lives. So the culture is saying that this thing is good. And and it's neither bad or good. It's just how you
It's
use it. But that's the perception out there. So
It's not going away.
no, exactly. And this is one that we talked about at dinner tonight.
Yeah.
Average daily use of social media is 142 minutes.
142 minutes.
2 hours and 22 minutes
A
day on social media.
Get a life.
U.S.
That's amazing to me.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
U.S. adults spend 1 hour 16 minutes watching videos
Watching videos. I could
every
not believe that.
day.
Over an hour, it's 16 minutes watching videos.
Yeah.
On social media, right?
Right. Right.
Wow.
69% of
I hope you're
Americans.
watching us
Yeah.
at C3 Thursdays, streaming
Yeah.
Sunday. Yeah. Okay.
69% of Americans are on Facebook.
Yep.
That's
That doesn't
huge.
surprise
Huge.
me, honestly.
79% of all online adults use Facebook. So of the adults
Yeah.
that are using social media, 79% of them are on
8 out of
Facebook,
10.
and 74% of those people check it every day.
Sure.
So they're on it.
Yeah, it's not a
Constantly.
I check it once a week thing.
Right.
That's part of my daily routine.
Yeah. Here's one that shocked me. 90% of Instagram users are under the age of 35.
Are you on Instagram?
I have an Instagram account.
I do as well.
Now that Jordan
Am
is
I-
taking care of all of our accounts, I have not been on Instagram
Haven't
since.
looked at it and
Have no
who knows
clue.
when.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just crazy. Here's an interesting one. Social daily use by generation. Okay.
Okay.
Boomers, my
Yeah.
generation,
Yep.
48.2%. A little under
About half.
About half.
Yeah.
About half of us use it.
You're fairly relevant.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're halfway relevant.
Not even close. Gen X,
That would be my generation.
77.5%.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it
We're a
gets
little bit. We're
now it gets fun.
yeah.
Millennials,
Yeah.
90.4%.
Basically everybody.
And that's where the people are starting to lose church.
Yes.
They're walking away from church,
Right.
but 90% of them are on social media
Right.
on a regular daily
Yeah.
basis.
It's where they're spending their time.
Now we have Gen Z coming up,
Yep.
a generation that we're just starting to learn about, just starting to understand about.
Now this is the statistic before you give it. It
Yeah.
blew me away when you showed it. To me.
Yeah. I found this tonight before we did this,
crazy.
and it's Gen Z by 2020 will represent the largest group of consumers worldwide.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yep.
The group is out there is huge.
Yeah.
And again, keep in mind that these are the people that are walking away. Even in a Christian background,
Right.
okay, a
Right.
Christian background, 60% of them are walking away from the church.
Yep.
How are we going to reach them? Well, let's use something they're using.
Oh, that's an
What a great idea. Of Gen Z, this is crazy.
This is crazy.
44% of them check their profiles hourly. Hourly.
Almost half of them.
Hourly.
You know, if you're awake, 14 hours a day, 16 hours a day, you're checking your profile, or whatever social media thing you're doing, whatever app you're using, every hour.
Every hour.
That's crazy.
It's
Not you're just doing it at night. when
It's
you get home.
mind-boggling. And so here we're sitting here. Here's the stats. Here's the things that are actually happening. So the question to us is, how are we going to use this?
Right.
How are we going to leverage this information to say, what do we need to do differently as a church,
Right.
as an organization, as a movement?
It's, I just thought of this. I mean, this is an example we've used many times. We're sitting up here with C3 Sports shirts on.
Yeah.
It's exactly why we did C3 Sports, started C3 Sports so many years
It
ago.
is.
Was we said, look, we're trying to fight with people for their time when their kids are spending so much time in sports activities, and we're trying to say, come and add this other activity. And we said, if they're already doing sports, why don't we join them where they're already spending
Exactly.
their time to engage them, build relationships, and speak to them about Christ? This is the exact same concept.
There's no difference.
They're already there. That's where they're spending their time. So we're going to go to them.
So let's use it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's what we got to do.
So we've been doing some things here, and you may be aware of some of these. You may not be aware, but we've experimented on several occasions. So talk about some of the stuff that we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we actually just got done filming tonight our C3 Thursday Live, which has been a blast for us to do. I hope some of you have enjoyed it as well. And it's more of basically a video podcast.
Right.
Live. You can watch it live or watch it later on Facebook and or YouTube. And just taking half an hour basically to talk about certain topics, dive a little deeper into subjects that we don't have time or can't
Right.
cover on Sunday mornings, and do it in a dialogue fashion. have some fun with it at the same time. And Jordan and you host it most of the time.
Right.
And do a great job.
And we've had a great success with it. I
response.
mean, it's one of the things that when we were doing Saturday night services, we thought, if we cancel Saturday night services, what are we doing? Saturday night service was not reaching the people we thought it was going to reach. We said we want to reach a different crowd. And what we found is we have anywhere from, I'd say on a low night, 30 people watching, up to 50 or 60 sometimes in 10 different states.
Yeah.
And when we start watch parties, and we have our, I think you had a classmate, didn't you? That you
I did. I had somebody from high school, actually, who I haven't seen since high school. I think I've talked to once since high school via social media. And he logged on 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And just amazing. That's part of the shift here, too, is just like along with culture, shifting from just a local focus on people inside these four walls to you have the chance to have influence far beyond what we ever had influence before.
Right.
So,
it's just really cool.
Yeah.
Some of the other stuff we're doing as we do it on occasion, a midweek motivation, just a 1 minute. We basically do this for Instagram because you can only post a 1 minute video, and just a real quick, hey, here's a verse, here's what we're thinking about it. And that has gone very well.
Yep. Next Steps with Kim Chitwood, our Next Steps pastor. She does a great job.
Anytime she's on video, it just blows up.
People love her for some reason. Not sure why. And Kim is just sharing with you usually some of the things that she's been studying already, or as she meets with other people and has been using some of those things or thoughts or topics in those counseling or times where she's meeting with people, and just puts them on camera and says, what if we use these to reach lots of people?
And it gets shared, and other people see it. It's been amazing. And then we have the whole social media thing that we're trying to figure out. And this is an odd duck.
Yeah.
Social media changes all the time, and if you're not in that world of trying to figure out,
it's almost a full-time job.
It
really is.
They actually say that the next big hire for any churches are going to be communication directors and graphic designers that will do nothing but this. This is the next. If you want to get in church ministry, this is it.
That's right.
And so it's obviously Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Well, I'm not even going to go there tonight, although you are famous in TikTok.
I believe I have the Crossbridge record for
a viral video.
Yeah. If you're not on TikTok, apparently they tell me you should be, because you can go watch me be really stupid.
Yeah.
And we had how many?
I don't know. A million.
Jordan, what was the last? 3 million?
3 million views on this video.
That is nuts.
It's just insane.
It's stupid, and it gets me nothing, by the way.
Yeah, and all kinds of people following us on TikTok. I don't understand it. Talk to Jordan if you want to know about that. But we do things like we do silly polls of what's your favorite Christmas song? Do you like this over this? And things. We do the tubers, the videos of pastor,
church Ubers.
the church Ubers,
Yes.
and
which again I hate to film, by the way.
And and we do this to create. It's not only fun for us, but then it also gets people connected to us to know who we are a little bit better.
Yeah.
They start building a little bit of relationship.
Like two things I think I want to make sure we clarify on this is understand that we are not doing this to see how many followers, subscribers we can get, and that's our goal.
Right.
That is not the goal. We do these funny things, the polls, the tubers and stuff, for two reasons. Is because it does actually make people feel like they can get to know us.
Right.
So it's increasing the personal relationship to where they feel more comfortable walking into the church because they feel like they know us more. We've broken down some of those initial walls.
Right.
Right. So that it builds the relationship, and then it gives us access to do some of the more serious
We've
stuff.
earned the right.
Right. Right. They feel comfortable with us. They want to see what else we say.
Right.
So it is not just everything we do. We've always said this. I don't know that people fully understand. Everything we do is extremely intentional. Right. We're not just shotgunning things. We're not just doing things to be goofy. We're doing it for a purpose.
Right.
And social media is a tool that we're using, and we're trying to figure out how to use it most effectively to be able to expand our influence.
Exactly. And all that, we create traffic. The algorithms of things of Facebook and Instagram change with how many views we have and things like that. Yep. And that is even changing, almost every month.
Yeah.
that they change an algorithm and then we're not reaching as many people. So we have to try to figure out and reinvent some things. And so the learning curve is incredible on it. But we know that's where we have to be.
Which, by the way, shout out especially to Jordan and you and Trevor. And we're getting some other Michaela Hansen's doing Mondays for us now, and just a ton of people here who are diving into this, helping us figure it out. They've done the bulk of the work behind this, but like you said, it's a constant.
It's constant. It's constant, and we track all the results of everything we post.
Right.
And we look at the analytics to everything that happens. So it's just not something we're willy-nilly doing. We're trying to figure out how's the best way we can approach this thing. That's why we ask you to start watch parties.
Exactly.
Watch parties on Thursday night. Share, watch party.
Watch parties.
Get your phone out. If you're in second service, every service, go out and do a watch party.
Yep.
You'll be amazed, and we're gonna change people's lives because you started a watch party.
Exactly. Again, not so that we're famous or cool or get a bunch of subscribers, but it gives us the chance to speak truth into people's lives that may never step foot inside these doors.
Exactly.
That's why we do it.
Just to give you some overall of kind of what's happening in October, we had almost 9,000. I think it was 8,900 minutes, 9,000 minutes of our videos watched by people.
Yeah. Which is amazing.
And some of those were only 1 or 2 minute videos.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
So they're watching. Last month in November, 7,100. So it went down a little bit, but we think with Thanksgiving and things like that.
There was a week there for Thanksgiving where social media, I think, use was probably a little lower just because of busyness of holidays.
But again, we're tracking this stuff to see, okay, what is working. And all that to say this is that the front door of the church has changed.
Yes.
The front door is no longer the front doors as you see as you walk into a church.
Right.
The front door is all internet.
And here's one of the things we ask repeatedly as we're constantly getting new people coming to the physical location as well, which obviously we're continuing to strive to do. And one of the things many times we'll ask is, well, how did you find Crossbridge? And I would say everybody I've asked that question to, it may have started by an ask from a friend, which is what we hope happens.
Sure, we want that to be a huge part of it.
Or from C3 Sports. But I don't know that there has been anybody who has started coming to Crossbridge in the last few years who hasn't first either looked at our website, found us on social media, or somehow seen us digitally before they walk through those doors.
Yes.
And that's the front door.
The front door is social media and website. Right. And when you start understanding and processing that way, it changes the way you look at it.
Right.
And that doesn't mean our first impression team isn't the most important team we have. It's absolutely, it is, because that's where they start, but then they're coming here. And so we have to be on our game everywhere. First impression is absolutely still crucial. So if you're parking cars, if you're handing out programs, if you're greeting people, man, that is where it's at.
You're the first one, honestly, that they go,
the first
is this
real person.
really what I see on...
And anybody that's coming has already watched us watched our sermons on one of our YouTube channels or Facebook or something. Yep. Yeah, it's amazing. So the bottom line is this, is that's where we know the future is. That's where we know we have to go, at least at this stage. It may change, but the church is going to radically look different in 10 or 15 years. Right. But the church is still important.
Absolutely. And again, church, meaning the body of Christ, is still the plan.
It's still the plan.
People for Christ. But again, like we've always said, it's not these four walls.
No.
So we still be the body of Christ outside of these four walls. And even as I say that, let me add this one piece of clarification. Does that mean that we're headed towards not meeting here? No.
We don't see that anytime in the future.
I mean,
we know there's a possibility of that down the road, but at right now we're not saying, oh, how do we get rid of Sunday?
We are not driving toward not doing Sunday.
No, we want
not at all.
Sunday morning is as important to us as it ever has been.
Yes. It's just that we feel like we've got to do more than. We need to add some of these changes with the focus on digital ministry so that we can, what we're experiencing on Sunday morning, we can influence more people throughout the entire week.
Yeah, and I think Sunday morning is as important to someone's spiritual journey, spiritual walk as ever. I think there's no replacement for community. Yeah. There's no replacement from being here live. It's the reason you go to live concerts. It's the reason you go to live games. Yep. There's something special about that, being in that atmosphere. Yeah. It is no different than church. Yeah. It's the last thing we want to do is to change that.
We're not getting rid of that.
And so we're not trying to give you an excuse, hey, just watch us on video and not come. No, we think it's crucial. If you call Crossbridge home, we still think it's as crucial as ever to be here.
Yes, and that actually brings me to one other point I want to make sure we made is that all of this for us is brand new. Like we said,
Right.
nobody's got it figured out. Huge learning curve. So some of what we're doing, honestly, is I don't know. We're trying stuff.
Right.
We don't know where this is going. We know digital ministry is the next big change for us, but there is no target that we're shooting for out there. We're trying to figure it out, and we're not there yet. One of the big things we're trying to figure out is, okay, how do we even get more effective in doing actual ministry, connecting to people personally?
Those are the questions that we're still
Online.
asking ourselves every
Right.
time. Okay, yeah, we're doing this, and it's maybe successful, but is it
But now what?
accomplishing the goal? And
Yeah.
now what? How do we take them to a next step?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so important. And here's the other thing that's starting to that we're watching and we're reading articles on things is that the more connected people are, social media wise, digitally, the more longing for community they are.
Yeah.
They are they're more lonely than what they've ever been.
Right.
And we talked today that we think the pendulum will actually swing back the other way eventually.
Yeah. What we're gonna guess, maybe we should play this back in 10 years.
Yeah,
if we were
we'll
right,
see
right?
how good we are.
What we're gonna guess is, everybody's heard the statistics that people are more lonely today with social media than they've ever been. Our guess is that that's going to continue for a while until people get so tired of just being digital that they long for the physical again, and it'll swing back the other way.
Right.
And our hope is that we can keep the physical being effective until
All
that
the way through.
pendulum
Swings back.
again, and
Yeah.
and we'll, if we may have to change things then again. Who knows?
Exactly. We're just going to keep our finger on the pulse and do
Yep.
whatever, and we're just following what we believe God is calling us to do.
Right.
In the whole thing. So,
Yep.
Any last comments?
Last comment is, I would say, is if you come here Sunday morning and notice something radically different inside the four walls,
There you go.
that is not Brad's fault either. That's something we've been talking about for years. So anyway, yeah,
We'll
come
see
Sunday.
if they figure that one out.
See if they figure that
Yeah.
out. Come Sunday, and can't wait to see you. But thanks for listening.
Hey, yeah,
to us.
absolutely.
And,
Thanks.
Yep. Bye.
Bye. See ya.